may have heard about the newly released MacBook Pros, which are a little bit on the controversial side because they didn't seem new at all, and that's sort of true. I recently bought a MacBook Pro on the morning of the release of the new MacBook Pros, but it's probably not for the reason you think. This is William from Wink Tech, and in this video I'll be talking about the 2019 MacBook Pro and why I bought one in 2020. I was in need of a new laptop as my previous one was an old ThinkPad X1 Carbon 2nd Gen, which is good but not great and definitely wouldn't hold up for me in the coming years. In a new laptop, I was mainly looking for something with at least 8GB of RAM, a newer Intel chip, and decent build quality. I really wanted a Mac, but thought that a Windows laptop would give me a bit more value for the money. For around 900 Canadian dollars, I could get myself a decent laptop with a 10th Gen i7, 8GB of RAM, and a 1080p screen, but there were a couple problems with that. One, the build quality is compromised at that price point to put more money towards the specs. Two, these laptops tend to not come with great screens. Yes, they are 1080p, but colors are mediocre and viewing angles are meh. Finally, they run Windows. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but my preference is macOS. Windows is usable, but considering all my other devices, including my desktop, are Apple, it just made sense to get a MacBook naturally. I started looking at the Apple Refurbished store because I know that they can have good deals if you're lucky enough. Unfortunately, the cheapest they had was a 2018 MacBook Pro with only 128GB of storage, and even that was over $1,400 Canadian dollars. Not a very good deal in my opinion. However, I knew that Apple is rumored to release a new 13-inch or maybe even 14-inch MacBook Pro. This would mean that the refurbished MacBook Pro prices would go down. As it so happened, the very next day that I came to this conclusion, the new MacBook Pros dropped on the Apple website, and the refurbished 2018 MacBook Pro with 256GB of storage went down to $1,337 Canadian dollars, which is about $950 US. Essentially, this means I got a new MacBook Pro for less than $1,000. Now you might be thinking, Will, it's a refurbished laptop, that's not new. Well, here's the thing, when it comes to Apple refurbished, the product you're getting is basically brand new. They just can't call it that. Refurbished really means that the product came out of the factory with some kind of defect, which is then repaired like any other Apple product would be that is taken for repair. It is thoroughly inspected to ensure that the product functions normally. This means that the MacBook still comes with the charger and AppleCare and everything, with the only difference being that the box says refurbished on it instead of a picture of a MacBook Pro. So after about 4 days, my MacBook Pro came, and it was like unboxing a brand new product. I charged it and set it up, and it was super quick. To give you the full specs of this MacBook Pro, it comes with an 8th Gen quad-core i5, 8GB of DDR3 RAM, a 256GB SSD, a 2560 by 1600 Retina screen with True Tone, 2 Thunderbolt-enabled USB-C ports, and the Touch Bar. These specs are excellent for day-to-day tasks, and possibly some light video and photo editing, if you're into that sort of thing. Being such a thin and light device comes with some challenges with the thermals. Obviously we're not talking about 15-inch MacBook Pro with Core i9 levels, but this can get a little warm if you're doing demanding tasks for a long period of time. But it doesn't take away from the overall experience. One of the biggest things that stood out to me with this laptop was the design and build quality. The design of the post-2016 MacBook Pros is truly stunning. It's thin and light but feels premium with an all-metal build. You can tell it is very well balanced because when you lift the hinge, the laptop doesn't tip upwards. The screen is very good with a 2560 by 1600 resolution and very accurate colors, achieving 100% of the sRGB color gamut. True Tone is a welcome feature first introduced on the iPhone 8. It adjusts the color temperature based on the lighting in your environment, making the screen easier on the eyes when using it for long periods of time. Now I know what you all want to know about. How bad is the butterfly keyboard? Well, to my surprise, I actually like it. It's not the best keyboard I've ever used, but the tactile response is very nice and seems to be very reliable so far. It contrasts to my mechanical keyboard with Cherry MX Reds, but having a little keyboard variety doesn't hurt. This brings me to the trackpad, one of the best parts about using this laptop. The trackpad is very big, the largest on a laptop I think, and it utilizes a haptic feedback system similar to the iPhone to give you the impression of a clicking mechanism, but it feels the same no matter where you click. It also features Force Touch, which will let you see previews of files and folders by pressing down hard on the trackpad, which is pretty cool. The speakers are typically an afterthought on laptops, but with the MacBook they sound like there is actual effort put into the design of these. Most speakers on laptop are straight up garbage, but on this laptop the speakers sound very good with a nice balanced sound. The only thing I could complain about is a lack of bass, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. Now last, but certainly not least, how does this machine perform? Well, for day-to-day tasks, it performs extremely well. Web browsing, media consumption, and office work is really fast. The integration with iPhones such as Handoff and iMessage is an added bonus which just makes working on this thing really nice. For more demanding tasks like photo editing and light video editing is also great. However, don't expect to be dealing with 4K raw video or anything crazy like that. If you really want to push your MacBook Pro, you're better off with one of the higher end 13-inch models or the more powerful 16-inch model. Overall, I would say that the 13-inch 2019 MacBook Pro was a good buy for me and could be a good buy for you too. If you're looking for a macOS laptop with decent specs for the price, I would highly recommend looking at the refurbished models because you never know when there might be a good deal there. Well, that's about it for this video. Do you need a new laptop and are considering a MacBook Pro? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more content like this. Anyway, this has been William from WinkTech, and I'll see you in the next video.